Good on.
This is the part of the stream where we check the volume. We do our audio checks. We do that so that we don't embarrass ourselves by streaming for hours with no mic or with shitty sound. All right, we don't just check the microphone, we also check how things sound coming out of YouTube.
On every read. That is smooth.
Beautiful.
Silky smooth.
I know I washed my hair this morning after lifting weights because I'm a strong
'Cause I'm
man.
swole. So, Alex has a soap sponsor.
Yes.
And in order to have him be a sponsor of the show, Alex makes clear that part of the deal is that the owner of the soap company gets to be a guest on his show once a month.
All right. I want to know the owner of this soap company.
Well, you're going to get to
What
listen
is this?
to it.
What does this soap company owner believe?
Eugenics. I mean,
Oh yeah, look at those ears. Them ears, bro. All right, we're going to talk. What did I do? I did a reaction to Ethan's last video upload, the content nuke. A takedown of Hassan Piker. And, well, it was dog shit. For many more reasons. Since then, I've learned more. I've watched some other people's breakdowns and follow-ups and stuff. It was even worse than I thought it was. And I was thoroughly unimpressed. A lot of the little facts and things that I just sort of accepted, you know, I was like, oh, I don't know if that's true or that's false, but I'll just, for now, assume that it is true, that Ethan was telling the truth. And I had significant criticisms for that, because it would be like, even if that is true, this is not a sound argument. It doesn't say, you know, the so-called evidence you're showing us doesn't say what it says. It says, right? So I was not impressed with it. And since then, Ethan has been on a bit of a crash out. I don't watch his podcast, but I have started watching other people responding to his podcast because it's kind of getting ridiculous. And it's also entertaining. I don't know, maybe we'll look at some of the subreddits. The subreddits are going off. I don't know, but here we have another release from the official H3 Productions. It's called This Is So F. You know what word he's trying to say there? He's saying the F word. Effed up. This is so effed up, he says. Oh, you can't even see that. That's the title of the video. This is so fucked up. And, yeah, Ethan is claiming that there's a targeted campaign of hate against him. They're stalking his family. They're sending death threats. They're swatting. And it's apparently all being organized on Reddit, yet Reddit won't do anything about it. So we're going to find out what the fuck is going on. We're going to figure this out. Because obviously it's really shitty and scary to get stalked and have death threats. Can't even imagine. I know this kind of thing has happened before. I mean, Ethan is not a new figure on the internet. He famously had a big monumental court case thing that he won. He fought and he won. But that, I don't know the details, but it was essentially about these people just doing these false copyright takedowns as a form of harassment, because he would do react. He would react to things and then say criticize it, critique it, parody it, And that's fair use. And you had these people who were like trying to sue him, trying to take him down for all kinds of stuff for his use of reaction materials, right? So something like this is not unheard of. It's not it's not crazy to think, yeah, this guy he finds himself in trouble. He pisses off people who get really mad, and then they want to, get their revenge. So maybe that's happening in this case. We're going to find out who's stalking them, how's Reddit involved, and if anything, what could we do to help? Let's take a look.
Career on YouTube, I've pretty much seen it all. I've been swatted several times with LAPD helicopters, a street shut down, police with guns drawn up, doing a perimeter around my house. We've also been visited by the FBI 3 times. They were all to warn us of a credible threat against our lives. One time, most recently, he came at 7 a.m. and said, "Do not open any packages."
I have to make one point. So there's one thing I kind of got wrong when I was reviewing the content, and I didn't know this. Apparently, Ethan has tics. He has Tourette's. And I didn't know that. I mean, I had been so many years since I actually watched him carefully that I didn't know that. And I was giving him a lot of hell for his weird face movements and stuff. So, my bad. I'm not going to be commenting on that kind of thing with this round. All right. So,
LAPD hell. In my long career on YouTube, I've pretty much seen it all. I've been swatted several times. Doesn't sound like he's talking about recent events when he says that. But then he says recently the FBI came and told him not to open any times
packages.
with LAPD helicopters, a street shut down, police with guns drawn up, doing a perimeter around my house. We've also been visited by the FBI 3 times. They were all to warn us of a credible threat against our lives. One time, most recently, he came at 7 a.m. and said, "Do not open any packages until you hear from me, as we have credible bomb threats against you that we found online." I thought I'd seen it all. I knew this content nuke was going to draw a lot of negative attention, seeing how extreme Hassan and his fan base are, and his orbiters. But the lengths to which they've gone to harass us and get revenge for going after their god king Hassan has frankly gone beyond any type of point of civility and humanity.
Okay, he got swatted. He got credible bomb threats. He was visited at 7 a.m. by the FBI. But what we're about to see, blows all of that out of the water.
Has frankly gone beyond any type of point of civility and humanity.
Gone beyond any point of civility or humanity. I don't know what the fuck that means. It's gone past the point of civility. I mean, if you just say, "Hey, fuck you, asshole, go to hell," that's beyond the point of civility, right? Being civil means being polite.
Gone beyond.
Is he saying it's inhumane? He's receiving inhumane treatment?
Any type of point of civility and humanity, to the point where they're calling CPS, Child Protective
They're calling CPS, hold on,
Services, to come to our house and break up our family.
Okay. So I feel like that's less of a thing than bomb threats and police helicopters, but okay. They're calling CPS to try to break up our family. Child Protective Services. All right. We kind of we're going to make a little list here. let's get a nice white background on that. Okay, why is the white background not showing up? What about the blue? That's so weird. There we go. All right, so he's got FBI visits. FBI visits to warrant bomb threats, swatting, closed down street, helicopters, FBI visits because of the bomb threats, right? Now, his next claim is that we don't know who they are. They are calling CPS to try to break up the family. Okay. So as soon as we figure out who they are and what evidence he has for this, we will be off.
Civility.
Now, hold on, though. Calling CPS. I mean, can you just call Child Protective Services reporting? Now, there's a couple things to know about reporting things. There are some people in this world who have certain jobs that absolutely require that they have to report anything, even if they aren't sure. But if they kind of think that there's something wrong, and you fail to report it, you could go to jail. It's called a mandatory reporting. I had that kind of job for a while. I used to work in public schools. And if you suspect child abuse or child neglect, you must report it. It's it's illegal to not report it. Does that make sense? So if this report came from, even if it's like something that has like an innocent explanation, right? If kids come to school and they've got bruises everywhere, or they look like they've been hurt at home, you literally have to report it. Doesn't mean that they're always going to get in trouble. It doesn't always mean that they're going to take the kids away from the parents. Let's look into this, actually. We are not a hotline for reporting suspected child abuse or neglect. We cannot accept reports. Families of diverse racial and cultural backgrounds are more likely to be investigated by Child Protective Services, and black children are more likely to be placed in foster care due to reasons such as racial bias and systemic. This is from our patriotic non-woke government, by the way. Like, this is childwelfare.gov I'm reading from. So this is all Donald Trump approved, in case anyone is worried that I'm like being real woke about this shit. Donald Trump admits that people of color are at higher risk. All right. So how do I report suspected child abuse or neglect? Lists of contact information to report maltreatment to local agencies. Yeah. Now, when I was a mandatory reporter, I wasn't given like a phone number or anything. Basically, you just have to pass the info up the chain, right? So I didn't have to directly report to Child Protective Services, but I have to tell someone who has to do it, in other words. All right, there is a child abuse hotline. Professional crisis counselors are available. National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Doop, 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 doop. Okay. But so one thing is, like, I cannot just call up anonymously and say, hey, there's another person who you need to, you need to report. Let's see. California is where they live. California, what's it called? Let's see. Laws for reporting child abuse. See if we can pull up anything. Child abuse is more than bruises or broken bones. While physical abuse often leaves visible scars, not all child abuse is obvious. Yeah. True. Community members have an important role in protecting children from abuse and neglect. While not mandated by law to do so, if child abuse or neglect is suspected, a report should be filed with qualified and experienced agencies that will investigate the situation. Okay. Community members do not need to provide their names when making a report of child abuse or neglect. Okay. So yeah, in California, it could be done anonymously. Parents and guardians of pupils have the right to file a complaint against anyone they suspect has engaged in abuse or neglect of a child. Parents and guardians of pupils. School volunteers, while not mandated reporters, should also be encouraged to report any suspected case of neglect and abuse. Okay, so if you volunteer at a school, you're not a mandated reporter. So mandated reporter means that, like I described before, if you fail to report something and they find out that you knew and you didn't say anything, you are guilty of breaking a law and could be sentenced for that. Obligations of mandated reporters. Okay. It includes all school district employees, administrators, athletic coaches, all persons hired into positions included on the list of mandated reporters. So for a mandated reporter, if child abuse or neglect is reasonably suspected, or if a pupil shares information with a mandated reporter leading him or her to believe that an abuse or neglect has taken place, the report must be made. No supervisor or administrator can impede or inhibit a report or subject the reporting person to any sanction. Okay, must contact an appropriate local law enforcement or county child welfare agency listed below. Report should be made immediately over the telephone and should be followed up in writing. Okay, so consequences of failing to report. I'm curious if they have anything about like false reporting or like reporting as like revenge on someone. I'm also curious as to how often a visit from CPS actually results in the destruction of a family, breaking up a family. I feel like that's highly, I can imagine it's very like unnerving to have an official agent just arrive at your house and demand to like speak to your kids and ask all these leading questions about if you're a bad parent or something. It's not, to me, an escalation up from bomb threats. Like if they were literally sending packages with explosives in the mail, like that's like a legit attempted murder. Whereas CPS coming, that's like, I mean, you called the authorities on someone and the authorities came to check it out. And it wasn't cops. It wasn't police. CPS is not police. I don't know. Let's keep going.
King Hassan has frankly gone beyond any type of point of civility and humanity to the point where they're calling CPS, Child Protective Services, to come to our house and break up our family.
By the way, it's not they called. They called CPS. He says they are calling. So we have a question. How many times is it still going on? That is implied by your wording that it's still happening. They. And he says Hassan. He mentioned Hassan. Hassan et al. are calling. They and Hassan are calling CPS. I mean, there's many ways to interpret they are calling them. But, okay, they did it once. Maybe he thinks they're continuing to do it.
On Friday morning, an agent showed up to our house saying that they had received an anonymous tip that our children were crawling around in dog shit, eating dog shit, and contracting diseases. Not only have they called CPS on us, now they're starting to try to call in a 5150 to get me committed. It's really gone on too far, and at this point, I'm ready to take no prisoners, take the gloves off, and call out everybody who needs to be called out. The thing is,
Wait,
50.
I don't know what 50 what?
Called CPS on us. Now they're starting to.
Holy shit. Okay. So here's some screenshots from. This is what we're looking at right now. Ooh, okay. Ethan's emergency video bingo. Stop. LMFAO. Shouldn't someone 5150 him at this point? He is not well. Ethan mad at journalists. Thinks they're all conspiring against him. Gila thinks Hassan paid PR. PR? Ethan asked ChatGPT for a better article. Guys, don't read ChatGPT for news. It's not a news thing. It just makes shit up. Tote my egg. I almost feel bad watching this because it legitimately feels like Ethan's spiraling mentally and needs serious help. He has a wife encouraging his paranoia, absolutely zero friends looking out for him, and shitty, neglectful parents. I wish someone on the crew would have enough sense to 5150 him. What the fuck is 5150? Okay, whoever called CPS, can you please do a 5150? Joking, no one here called CPS. The leap he made, had he simply scrolled a little further, he would have seen a post saying it was someone he knows. The post he read was correcting the misinformation, that's all it was, and then his brain broke. But it's been coming for a long time. Does every criticism of Ethan need to turn into a coping crusade against Hassan? Okay. Hassan needs to fake his death and join WITSEC, and someone needs to 5150 Ethan and put him in a room alone made entirely of grass. Okay. But, by the way, who are any of these people? I don't know. But, yeah, so I don't know what their connection is to Hassan. 5150. 5150. What is that? 5150 is the 7th studio album of the American rock band Van Halen. Una persona puede ser detenido involuntariamente en el hospital hasta 72 horas. Okay, so this is the rule of psychiatric detention. Like, okay, we got to get this guy into a mental hospital. All right, so what is Ethan's claim? We're gonna have to go back. I don't remember what he was tying to this.
Diseases. Not only have they called CPS on us, now they're
Not only have they called, now he's saying they have called CPS on him.
starting to try to call in a 5150.
Now they're starting to try to call in.
Called CPS on us. Now they're starting to try to call in a
Now they're starting to try to call in a 5150. How would Ethan know if they're starting to try to call? We need a new list. We're going to make a list that's just the... I'm going to fix this a little bit. So we're going to not worry about the swatting, the first part. These are the allegations. Okay? We're going to keep track of these allegations. And the first one is the Hassan and others are calling / have called CPS to try to break up the family. Why can't I ever just keep shit organized? I just don't like the awkward shape of windows. They never like fit. There's always this dead space. So that's one. Allegation 2 is they are starting to try to call... Who would you call for 5150? They're starting to try to call someone to get Ethan mandatory, what would that be called? Mental health? Incarcerated for mental health. And like, who is that a thing I can do? Could I just, because if I can just look at someone on the internet and then call someone and then that person just gets involuntarily locked in an insane asylum, I want to do it to Jordan Peterson first. Let's do it. Who do I call that I can somehow just get someone locked up in a mental health facility? Because that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do. I want to do that to Jordan Peterson. And then no, but I don't think this is like a valid like allegation, because they didn't do anything. Whoever they are, I don't know who they are, but you can't tell me that someone is starting to try to call, to make a phone call that I'm 90,000% sure is not going to lead to Ethan getting arrested or anything. Like, how could that work? Incarcerated. So, okay. This is not off to a good start, Ethan.
5150 to get me PS on us. Now they're starting to try to call in a 5150.
Now they're starting to try to call in a 5150. To get and just to be clear, that is to get someone, an adult, locked up in the loony bin, as they used to call it. All right.
To get me committed. It's really gone on too far, and at this point, I'm ready.
That was the word. I said incarcerated. Committed is the word. Committed.
To take no prisoners, take the gloves off, and call out everybody who needs to be called out. The thing is, once you target my children, then a line's been crossed that cannot be walked back. Once my kids are...
Okay. That is fair enough. Once you target my children, a line has been crossed that cannot be walked back. Now, are you targeting the children if you target their parents? We'll see. We need some evidence. Like, there's got to be big evidence that they are starting to try to call in a 5150, because, like, what would that look like? I suppose you could have, like, fuck. I guess a secret recording of people talking about how they're going to try to do it. I guess. Yeah, maybe he's got some recorded Discord calls or something.
Involved. When people are targeting my children, harassing my children, there's no length that I won't go to take care of this. And
harassing his children. Okay, so these people are directly speaking to his children. Fucked up. And I wouldn't blame someone for going a little bug nutty if you have people actually reaching out and contacting the children of people you're beefing with on the internet. That's fucked up. If true.
I think that's something that every parent can relate to. All these people, incidentally, who are promoting this type of insanity are, in fact, childless. And
all the people promoting this insanity are childless. Okay, so we have some clues as to who these freaks are that are that are harassing Ethan. Is they are childless people. All of them, I think he said.
Promoting this, every parent can relate to. All these people, incidentally, who are promoting this type of insanity are...
All right. All people... he says all the people who promote this kind of insanity. All the people who promote this kind of insanity are childless. So that's kind of a two-part thing, because what is this kind of insanity? From everything we have to know, it means targeting or harassing children, speculating about reporting an adult for being crazy, to have him put away, and allegedly calling CPS to please go and look at their house to check in on them. Are CPS known for being really super hawkish and, like, you know, they'll just take your kids away for no reason, even if you're totally great? I have a feeling that they kind of tend to swing the other way, where they will flat out ignore troubling things because, you know, ripping children from their family, even if they're shitty parents, it's still going to be way more, more of a trauma to lose your parents, right? Even if they're, like, not doing the best. I think there are other remedies besides just taking the kids away, erasing a family. Like, I've heard stories of some really, really fucked up people who did, eventually get their kids back. Like, it's not a permanent thing. It's usually like something where, oh, you got to get off drugs or whatever. You got to do this or that, and it's a few weeks or months that they're separated. Ethan just said they're calling CPS to try to break up my family. I really wish he would have explained a little nuance about, okay, like connect those ideas. Like they're hoping that CPS would come in, and if CPS came and saw our house, they would break up our family. Like that kind of seems to be what Ethan is implying there. It's like, if any authority who has the power to remove children from homes ever showed up here, that's now my family's in danger of being broken up. I mean, it feels a little bit like the, hey, we're smoking pot in here, so don't call the cops. Like, it's like, don't tell the teacher. It's less like telling the cops, and it's more like telling the teacher. Because, yeah, the CPS could also call the cops if they think there's a crime. I don't know. All right, so all the people who promote this kind of insanity are childless. So none of the suspects have children. Oh, by the way, I am not looking at chat. I don't think anyone has chatted, but maybe it could just throw up a chat room. People who promote this kind of okay, yeah, there's nobody here. I'm probably not going to look at chat much at all. In fact, I don't really care. It's literally the last time I talked about this guy, all I got was his little fans coming in and being absolute like galaxy brains. So I don't care.
Are, in fact, childless and will likely remain that way. The CPS agent showed up and he started asking us.
And likely will remain that way. That's quite a claim. So they are childless, and their balls are broken. They can't do it.
All kinds of questions like, who feeds the kids? Who takes care of the kids? What do you do to the kids when you get angry? How do the kids sleep? Do the kids have toys? Is that what happens when you get mad, or what happens when your kids get mad? He walked around the house. He looked in our refrigerator. He walked all around looking for dog shit, apparently, although when he showed up immediately, he said, wow, this place is clean. Our 3- and 5-year-old boys were at school. Our 8-month-old is upstairs sleeping when he visits, and he says, I need to go upstairs and look at your infant visibly to see him and confirm he's okay. Well, he's napping in his crib. He goes upstairs to look around the house, to snoop around.
I know. It's gotta feel different when it's in your house. I absolutely would not want anyone, for any reason, to just snoop around my house and ask questions and say, like, what do you do when you get angry? Absolutely. I will give you that. Sounds uncomfortable. It doesn't sound like the kind of thing I would feel comfortable complaining about having happened too hard. I mean, I would probably tell a couple friends about it. I'd be like, that sucked. It's just so uncomfortable to like answer all that stuff. But at the end of the day, it would have been like, yeah, but that's their job. That's what they have to do. Imagine they were going into like a place where the kid did need help, and they didn't even like visually confirm that the baby was in his room, while this like, the parents are kind of like really defensive and like, no, you can't go see him. I can definitely see how an adult person would be fucking bummed out and bothered and feel a little violated by this. Nobody wants their to be questioned as a parent. I get it. So Ethan is just describing what happened. All right, we're gonna give him a fair shake. I absolutely would be like, this sucks. This is uncomfortable. Why are you even here? This is crazy. Who called you? Because from Ethan's perspective, if it's like, what? We don't let our kids eat shit. Our house is always clean. Well, I mean, the house was clean on this day, on the day that CPS showed up. According to Ethan, the CPS investigator remarked at the cleanliness of the house, and that's good. 2 of the kids were away at school, and the youngest was napping. All right. And this guy was snooping. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, snooping is when you're alone. If the owner of the house is there with you, watching you watch things, you're not really snooping.
And he says, I need to go upstairs and look at your infant visibly to see him and confirm he's okay. Well, he's napping in his crib. He goes upstairs to look around the house, to snoop around. He investigates Sonny, our youngest, wakes him up from his nap.
Such odd use of language, because he's snooping, he's looking around, he's investigating our son. What do you mean investigate? What did he do?
Investigates Sonny, our youngest, wakes him up from his nap. And even though he woke him up during his nap, he was greeted immediately, actually, by a smile because...
Okay. So did the CPS guy, poke Sonny and get him to wake up? So he could, see him?
Sonny is probably the happiest baby in the entire world. He smiles at everybody. His name is Sonny because he is just a ray of sunshine. He just gets...
Oh, his name is Sonny? Like S-U-N? That's cute. Sonny. I thought it was S-O-N-N-Y. Sonny.
Him a big smile. I mean, he's just the sweetest kid in the world. So we went back downstairs to continue the conversation.
All right. CPS guy, he snoops around. He investigates the child. He finds the child to be smiling and living up to his name. Then he goes back downstairs.
At which point he said something that both me and Hila had us both saying abso-fucking-lutely not. He said he was going to go to the children's school to interrogate them there.
He said he's going to go to the kids' school and interrogate them there. Okay. He's not a cop. Maybe he is a cop. Is California CPS actually cops? California CPS agents, police. Okay. This is from a law firm. I'll pull up something here. All right. So they cannot enter your home without permission. Okay. So Ethan and Hila definitely gave this guy permission to come in. Although CPS workers may also show up to your house without notice, they cannot legally force their way into your home. They must have your explicit permission before entering. However, if they have a court order or believe that a child is in imminent danger, the CPS workers do not have to abide by this rule. I don't think that was the case, though. There was no imminent danger. They also cannot force you to take a drug test. That's great. Can you go to jail? Fighting a false accusation of child abuse. So these are articles from this family law attorney. This might be a little bit better resource. Hey, Bobo, buddy, booty boy. I got double kitty cats. All right. So this is kind of the area we're looking at, because according to Ethan, he's being accused falsely of child abuse in a roundabout way. From what he said that there was an anonymous tip that there was a bunch of shit all over his house, that his house was dirty, and the kids eat shit. Okay. That's it seems pretty random of an accusation. Where did that come from? This whole, they ate shit thing. I don't know.
Said something that both me and Hila had us both saying abso-fucking-lutely not. He said he was going to go to the children's school to interrogate them there. We both said, you are absolutely not going to ever go to their school and talk to them. That is fucking insane.
Okay. I wonder if he got really mad like that. It's not a good look in front of the Child Protective Service agent. Hold on. We have another thing here. This is from Sacramento County. What parents need to know when CPS investigates abuse neglect. Sacramento County Child Protective Services is required by law to investigate situations that may be harmful to children. Most of the time, reports of child abuse neglect come from calls into the Sacramento County Child Abuse Hotline from concerned citizens or mandated reporters. Mandated reporters are these people. We've talked about that. They are required by law. A visit from CPS can be upsetting and confusing for families. Yes. This brochure is designed to help answer. Okay. Why has CPS social worker contacted my family in response to a report of suspected child abuse or neglect? Who made the reports? California law requires that the identity of the reporting person remains confidential. I mean, this goes both ways. It's like, if someone is really doing something wrong, like if I got a meth kitchen and my baby is like neglected out in the backyard all day, and then someone calls Child Protective Services, and me, the innocent meth head, is not going to be like, oh, thank you for reporting me to the authorities. And I would love to send some thank you flowers to that person. May I please have that person's address? No. People get revenge against people who report them, right? So that remaining confidential, it's like, oh my God, I don't want this person to know that I did it, but because usually an abusive person is not just abusive to their kids, they're abusive to everybody, right? So this law makes sense, that it should be confidential. Does a report to CPS mean that I'm a bad parent? A report means that someone is worried about your family. It could also be an opportunity to receive information and services that may help strengthen your family. I wonder if they adjust the idea of people calling CPS falsely. You know? Like if someone falsely false CPS reporting. Penalties for failure to report. More states seek to curb anonymous CPS reports. False reports waste time and resources. The untold harm of false CPS reporting on families. This is a Texas lawyer. So it's a different state. Yeah. Overall, it's a I don't want to at all mince words. It sounds like I'm saying like it's okay. It is not okay to do false like reporting, anything like that. Even if you're totally innocent, you can be accused of something and it can then spiral out of control where you can't like prove you didn't do it, right? That's why, the ideal justice system is that, you're innocent until we can prove you did something wrong, right? Having an investigator come and show up can be crazy because the investigator mindset is different than the mindset of someone who's being investigated. That they're looking for little things. They're looking for everything, and they can twist whole narratives, right? So it's absolutely, I can totally understand Ethan would have a concern of like, oh, you just asked me like, what do you do when you get angry? And, everybody gets angry, right? Everybody flips out. Everybody will have a temper tantrum. And what is it going to say? Like, oh, I raise my voice. I stomp around. I make my eyes go, But, it's going to be hard to like describe all that and be like, but I'm totally innocent. Because just the questioning itself, there's like little ways when they question you, they're like implying something, right? Like, oh, so do you find yourself getting angry very often? Okay. It sounds like you're an angry person, I don't know. I get it. However, it's also very, very possible that this was something that was a mandated reporter. Like, say, for example, he said he had 2 other kids that were at school. If the kids are talking or acting in a way that one of the, teacher's assistants, who's a mandated reporter, overhears them, and if they said something like, our house is full of poop and we eat poop every day, like, that person would have to report it. Okay? It wouldn't be an attack. It's not like, it's not swatting. It's literally like, I heard this and I am mandated by law to report this. Doctors could do this, right? Who knows?
We agreed that he'll come back to our house and interview our 3- and 5-year-old children at a time.
Okay. So, yeah, he doesn't want his kids to get interrogated by someone at their school when they're not around. Sure. That's fair enough. They can't stop someone from going to that school, though. I don't know if they would have the authority to be like, that random man there is never allowed to go to that building over there because our kids go there. Like, they can't control who is allowed to go in and out of a school. But yeah, I get it. And it sounds like he didn't press the issue too hard because it says they came to an agreement.
Come back to our house and interview our 3- and 5-year-old children at a time when they're at home, so he doesn't need to humiliate them in front of his peers.
Well, I mean, It's assuming that that he would walk into the classroom in the middle of class while all his peers are there and ask them, and then they're humiliated. How would you be humiliated at 3 years old that a grown-up was talking to you? Like, what, the other 3-year-olds and 5-year-olds, are they gonna be like, oh my God, did you see that? That CPS don't wear uniforms either. It's just gonna be like a man in a suit.
His teachers, the staff there, and, needlessly stigmatize them.
He's just making up a lot of. You didn't have to explain any of this. Needlessly astigmatize them. Astigmatize? Astigmatism is something with your eyes. Stigmatize. Interesting. To describe the archaic meaning of stigmatize is to mark with stigmata. To stigmatize something means to describe or regard as worthy of disgrace or great disapproval. I think he's confusing the concept of like a stigma is like the general popular opinion of what people who go to therapy must be really crazy because there's a stigma of having therapy, right? The stigma is not the therapy, it's the ignorance of society who are placing negative meaning on something that shouldn't necessarily be negative. That's just neutral. They say there's a stigma attached to receiving welfare. There's a stigma attached to receiving mental health treatment. If an official agent, and let's say they have a big old yellow sign on their hat that says Child Protective Services, and they march in there and they say, we need to talk to these little boys right here, and all the staff and all the other children listen up. At that point, I would be a little less worried because they're like, it's public. Like, they're not secret, right? I mean, part of the problem that I thought was like, no, you're not going to go question them without us around. You're not going to isolate our kids from us. And that's not necessarily what that would be. Because imagine you're a kid, you go to school, you're doing stuff. The teacher is like, boo-boo, need to see you for a second. Walk out in the hallway. Boo-boo, this is Tom. He has a couple questions for you. Hi, Tom. Hey, boo-boo, you do this? Are you okay? And imagine imagine a kid really did need help. That's a pretty unintrusive way to get some information, especially because think about what CPS does. They're there to deal with kids who are neglected by abusive parents, right? So they're kind of ready for this sort of thing where, I don't know if you've ever noticed, but sometimes it's kind of hard to talk shit about your mother when she's like staring daggers at you and listening to everything you say. Right? So you have to be away from. Plus, that was just obviously not a hard line that the agent had, because Ethan said they renegotiated and he's going to come and visit at their house with them. So this whole little rant he's going on after, like he's trying to make it that we would be horrified at this agent. Like, what a fuck ass. What a fucking piece of shit this agent is. I'm sick of these crooked ass fucking CPS agents. What do they do? Oh, he suggested that he go and talk to my kids at their school without us. And when I told him he couldn't do it, he politely agreed and then changed his plan to fit my wishes. Oh my God. Oh my God. It must be so hard to be you and to have that happen to you. I'm so sorry.
Something that both me and Hila had us both saying abso-fucking-lutely not. He said he was going to go to the children's school to interrogate them there. We both said, you are absolutely not going to ever go to their school and talk to them. That is fucking insane. We agreed that he'll come back to our house and interview our 3 and 5-year-old children at a time when they're at home, so he doesn't need to.
You could just end it there. He wanted to go talk to our kids without us there, and we said, fuck you, no fucking way. And then he agreed he won't do that. He'll just come visit him at home. Okay. Even if you're right that it would have been very embarrassing because CPS would come up in a big CPS uniforms. They would be announcing to the whole school, these are the children that we are interrogating because their parents are suspected to be bad, right? Well, that's not an issue because the agent just said, okay, well, I won't do that then. Well, I'll talk to them when you are present.
To humiliate them in front of his peers, his teachers, the staff there, and, needlessly.
The staff. My 3-year-old was humiliated in front of the staff. Like, just adding all this extra grievance shit, just like it weakens your argument. Because why would you be wasting the breath to be like, my kids could have been embarrassed in front of the staff at their school. He's 3. They're 3 and 5. Like, okay. Sure. Maybe they would have been really embarrassed. Oh my God, the most embarrassing thing happened. We got pulled out of class, and for some reason, the whole school just shut down. Everyone was peeking in through the windows. They were laughing at me. I mean, I can't show my face to the custodian anymore. Okay. But yeah, what Ethan is mad about is the thing that didn't happen because he asked that it not happen to the official state agent, the CPS agent. He asked them, please don't do that. Or he said, fuck you. You can't ever fucking do that, you fuck. And he said, fine. I'll come talk to him when they're here.
Stigmatize them.
Stigmatize them.
My young 3 and 5-year-old children who are sweet and innocent as can be have not yet been interrogated by a CPS agent. But
yeah, man. And those CPS interrogations get wild, man. They break your fucking thumbs. They, electroshock. It doesn't sound good. Doesn't sound good to be like extremely defensive of a CPS agent. And again, I understand there's some nuance. It's not to say that I'm not going to say like if you didn't do anything wrong and you have nothing to hide. There's problems with that attitude. Okay? Because narratives can just get spun and people can get attached to them completely without any regard for facts or anything, right? They can They could go crazy. So it's definitely possible for one CPS agent to get a bug up his ass against one person and kind of go after them in a way that's not fair. Right? What would a CPS interview for a child really be like? Like what would that experience be like? What is that experience for a child, you know? Can they interview your child without telling you?
Investigator speak with your child without you present and without telling you first? Surprisingly, yes. CPS is not required to inform you of their intent to interview or examine your child, and they can do so even without you present. Except for 2 circumstances, CPS is required to inform you within 24 hours that an interview or examination took place and the nature of the allegation of abuse or neglect that's being investigated. CPS is not required to inform you that they've interviewed or examined your child if they determine that informing you would endanger the child, a person making the report, or any person participating in the investigation. CPS can also delay informing you if requested by law enforcement because the notification would interfere with an ongoing criminal investigation. But what you really want to know is...
I fucking hate YouTube shorts. They always do that shit. But the most important thing is... Bloop. All right. Whatever. Okay, so Ethan is real mad that his kids almost could have gotten questioned. And it would have been very embarrassing. Oh, shoot. I just, there it is. Okay.
That is due to happen on Wednesday. He also spoke to our nanny.
Wednesday? Okay, so, this is fresh. It's happening in a couple days.
Nanny, our housekeeper. He's called the pediatrician Wednesday. He also spoke to our nanny, our housekeeper. He's called the pediatrician that takes care of the kids. He talked to them, pretty much sifted through every angle of our life having to do with our kids in an extremely violating, insulting, unbelievable way.
Insulting?
To do with our kids in an extremely violating, insulting, unbelievable.
Okay. CPS investigation was extremely insulting.
Unbelievable way having to do with our kids in an extremely violating, insulting, unbelievable way. Just a complete breach of privacy and inhumanity that it's like you can't believe that you, as somebody who has done nothing wrong, has taken care of your kids, to be subject.
All right. So in addition to not secretly talking to their kids at their school, instead of, they honored that agreement and they're going to talk to the kids when they're with you. Although if that YouTube short lawyer is to be believed, they might just go ahead and do it anyway and then tell them afterwards. Extremely violating, insulting, unbelievable. Okay, I'm gonna call some bullshit on the extremely violating. Like, if you said uncomfortable, insulting, fine. That's literally a subjective feeling. If you felt insulted, then I guess it was insulting. Unbelievable. I don't know, man. They called the pediatrician. They called our housekeeper. Those are the examples he gave. Who else?
That you, as somebody who violating, insulting of our life, having to do with our kids.
Every part of our life having to do with our kids.
We talked to them, pretty much sifted through every angle of our life having to do with our kids.
Sifted through every angle of our life. He has such strange ways of wording things that it's impossible to confirm or deny. Like, it's just meaningless. Sifted through every angle. How do you sift an angle? You could look at your life from different angles. Angles are perspectives. They looked at it from different angles. They sifted every angle. How do you sift an angle? This is petty. I know, but he's just got such a non-precise way of wording things that gets him into trouble. In terms of, like, I'm not saying trouble with the police. I'm saying, like, this is not good rhetoric. This is pure, like, emotional blah. Like, it's just meant to be like, they sifted through every angle depending on my kids, my sweet innocent kids. Like, yeah, they're 5 and they're 8. I'm 100% agreement that they are sweet and they are innocent. I just have a feeling that if everything you say is right, that you've got a normal, happy household, then some man they don't know talking to them and asking questions for a few minutes is not going to be like a big formative, like, traumatic thing. Like, that's pretty much the whole school experience. I'd go to school, and then adults would ask various things of me, and I would reply back to them various ways. I mean, that's school. That's life. That's what you do.
In an extremely violating, insulting, unbelievable way. Just a complete breach of privacy and inhumanity that it's like you can't believe that you, as somebody who has done nothing wrong, has taken care of your kids, to be subject to this forcible investigation because of some fucking freaks online called...
It was not forcible. You didn't have to let them into your house.
That you, as somebody who...
Now, doing that might cause a bit of escalation of the issue. So maybe they felt forced. Maybe they didn't know their rights. I hope Ethan has a lawyer. Because I think a lawyer would be the one to kind of bounce a lot of these feelings and ideas off of. Not your audience.
Has done nothing wrong, has taken care of your kids, to be subject to this forcible investigation because of some fucking freaks online called anonymously to say that our kids are crawling around.
I thought you knew who called it. I thought we knew who this was. It was anonymous. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a 1.5 anonymous freaks online called CPS. So was it Hassan Piker and his goons, or was it anonymous freaks, or was Hassan the anonymous freak?
And shit. The immediate question for me was, who did this and how am I going to hold them accountable?
I don't think it. Those are not two good questions. The first question, who did this? The second question, how do I know that they did that? And the fourth question is, can I retaliate against them legally? Those would all be things to maybe ask your lawyer. the first two questions are, who did this? And did they do that? Or am I just going to jump to assume that it's the last guy I was beefing with online that did it? Because you have to show me something. Okay? Like, little Reddit comments here and there aren't going to do it. I mean, if you could show me something.
It didn't take me long to catch the trail of the obvious suspect.
Okay, now it's interesting. It didn't take him long to catch the trail of the obvious suspect. Who is that obvious suspect?
Which is the work of a subreddit dedicated to harassing me, my family, my coworkers.
Okay. A subreddit. What? God damn it. All right. So this is the work of a subreddit, and he knows that the subreddit did it. Why? How? Why, and how? That's what we're going to find out. So it didn't take him long, he said. Which subreddit is it? Is it going to be H3 Snark? So, suspects. I mean, because a subreddit cannot call... All right, suspect number one is... Who?
And their families, too, frankly, known as Snark. H3 Snark is the place that they originated. If you don't know what Snark is, it's this growing phenomenon of communities dedicated essentially to destroy someone's life, picking it apart, harassing them, and just trying to...
Okay. What is Snark? Dedication to harass and ruin lives. Okay. Good to know that's what it is.
Trying to ruin their life. It's something that's become quite common on the internet, and something that Reddit, who is the main host of such activities, has completely turned a blind eye to.
Okay. So, the allegation is that this subreddit, dedicated to harass and ruin lives, how? Does that include, like, doxing? I mean, Reddit usually takes down sites for doxing and harassment and things like that. All right, let's see it. Show us some fucking receipts.
Take, for example, right here, H3H3 underscore, which is the new Snark page.
H3H3 underscore. Okay. Why is there a new one? H3H3 underscore.
The top post on this page is from somebody named Bad Empanada, which we'll learn more about. It says, Bad Empanada with another banger. Quote, "You're the best parents I've ever seen," said house slave Abdullah Ayad to the Klines after CPS visited them because their kids contracted parasites from dog feces. The Klines frequently advocate for genocide of Arabs while Ayad sits obediently in silence. He is a tame domestic animal. This is just literally, anyone of a normal disposition can see plainly how fucking insane this is. It has 400 upvotes.
Okay.
After 3
That's your first example. Is that Bad Empanada? What is this? Is that an Instagram post? Bad Empanada posted on Instagram that Abdullah Ayad is a house slave who sits obediently like a tame domestic animal. The Klines advocate for genocide of Arabs. After CPS visited them because their kids contracted parasites from dog feces. Okay. What's Bad Empanada's connection to the H3? Is Bad Empanada on Reddit? Bad Empanada Reddit. I don't even know if he himself... Is there any connection... I don't know. Boom.
Yes, visited them because
that's not harassment. To post that on Instagram, the fact that it then got reposted on Reddit, there's no call to violence. It's just him saying his opinion. And hey, I'll give you this. It's pretty fucking snarky. And that's the classical definition of snark, not this new one that Ethan has. Dedication to harass and ruin lives. I think it's just being a little snarky. Snark. You know?
because their kids contracted parasites from dog feces. The clients frequently advocate for genocide of Arabs while Ayad sits obediently in silence. He is a tame domestic animal. This is just literally, anyone of a normal disposition can see plainly how fucking insane this is. It has 400 upvotes after 3 hours. It's a very active sub.
I don't think any of us, including me or Ethan, or anyone who's unfortunate enough to watch what I'm making right now, can be claimed to have normal dispositions. We're all internet brained. How would a non-internet brained person take that? They'd be like, I don't know. They probably wouldn't know who anyone is that they're talking about.
Insane this is. It has 400 upvotes after
400 upvotes.
After 3 hours.
In 3 hours.
It's a very active sub of absolutely deranged individuals.
Okay. Another just like, he's just saying shit. I haven't seen any of the derangement.
The problem is that this subreddit, this community, is being legitimized by creators such as Hassan, such as Denim, such as Mike from PA, and all these leftist commentators who think they can get one up on me by...
Hold on. This subreddit is being what?
Clients freaking domestic active is that this subreddit, this community, is being legitimized.
It's being legitimized. Okay. Legitimized? What makes something legitimate? Okay. Who is legitimizing? I guess he's talking about both of these subreddits. He's not talking about who moderates them, right? He's not talking about admins. He's saying legitimizing them. I don't know about you, but I only visit subreddits that are legitimate, that have been legitimized by Hassan Piker. So, first one is Hassan. Who else was it?
by creators such as Hassan, such as Denims, such as Mike from PA, and all
Mike from PA.
these leftist commentators who think they can get one up on me.
Okay. They think they can get one up on Ethan. That's what they're thinking. What does it mean to get one up on someone? Get one up on someone. What does that mean? To get an advantage, to do something that shows you're better than them. Okay. They're trying to tell everyone that they're better than me. I'm curious if any of these creators are they, I don't know. It's not wrong. It's not a crime to say that you're better than someone. Or maybe it is.
By sicking and participating and legitimizing the most crazed psychopaths on the internet. And legitimizing one up on me by sicking and participating and legitimizing the most crazed psychopaths.
Sicking?
These leftist commentators who think they can get one up on me by sicking and participating.
Sicking and participating. By sicking and participating
and legitimizing the
and legitimizing again. Who?
Most crazed psychopaths on the internet.
The most crazed psychopaths on the internet. That's quite a claim, man. There are some crazed psychopaths on the internet. They think they can get one up on Ethan by sicking. Okay, this makes sense. Sicking the most crazed psychopaths. Like, hey, you psychopath, look at that guy. Get him. Go get him. Like they control. These are the puppet masters controlling the psychopaths. So they're sicking psychopaths on Ethan. They are participating the most crazed psychopaths, and they are legitimizing the most crazed psychopaths. Okay. All right. Keep that in mind. Psychopaths. We're going to see Hassan, Denims, and Mike from PA, who are the legitimizers of H3 Snark. I don't know what that means, to legitimize a fucking subreddit. How do they what does that even mean? They give their stamp of approval? Like, do I go to Hassan's stream and he says, this subreddit is legitimate and this one's not? Also, is it a crime to legitimize a subreddit because they don't like you? Now, harassment is a loose word. It's one of those words that's loose, right? To harass someone can be as simple as stopping them while they're trying to walk somewhere, to pestering them, demanding their attention. In my opinion, when something when something's not harassment is if I don't have to see it or hear about it, and I don't see it or hear about it, obviously I'm not harassed. But like, if someone made a kudos animation hate sub, like, I don't have to go visit that sub, right? I don't have to read mean comments about me. I wouldn't, and plus, where the hell else are you gonna go? You want to find a place on the internet to talk about how you hate these shittily drawn cartoons, right? Like, do I have any right to tell you, like, no, this is harassment? Like, just posting something on a subreddit that, as you clearly have told us, it's all about hating you and your show and your family. And they just, so the only example he's shown us is Bad Empanada writing a really snarky thing on his Instagram, and then how it went to this subreddit, which I imagine you wouldn't allow it on your own subreddit, would you? So if someone wants to post their criticism, and even if they want to say really nasty, horrible things, that's like allowed. That's called free speech. Harassment would be if they're sending you DMs, harassing, threatening DMs. That's harassment, because I wasn't trying to look at this shit. I'm just checking my notifications, and all of a sudden I get this garbage attacking me, right? So I could block them, and they make a new account, and they just do it again and again. That's fucking harassment. That would be something and then you could show this. You could be like, look at this harassment I've got. I've got screenshots. I've got this. I've got that. If you were digging around in a hate subreddit and you found a post that was real mean and nasty about you, you don't have the right to just say, because of that, I'm harassed. All right? If I go slamming my face into people's hands, I don't get to say that they're slapping me. Right?
I bring this to YouTube because I respect the H3.
Who is this? This guy looks familiar.
On the internet.
I bring this to YouTube.
I bring this to YouTube. YouTube?
Most crazed psychopaths on the internet.
I bring this to YouTube because I respect the H3.
I bring this to YouTube. What the fuck is YouTube?
The internet.
I bring this to YouTube because I respect the H3 snark, and I believe that they're being silenced.
Okay, he's got the accent threw me off. He said YouTube. Okay. He also says H with a he puts a H on the letter H, which, to be fair, why isn't H spelled with a H? You know? It's like if you were going to write if the letter H was making a restaurant reservation and they said, "Could you please spell your name, please?" He'd be like, what would it be? A-C-H-E. Well, that's ache. H. How would you write H? One of the many mysteries. But maybe it would start with a H. All right, sorry.
By sicking and participating and legitimizing the most crazed psychopaths on the internet.
I bring this to YouTube because I respect the H3 snark, and I believe that they're being silenced. And I saw on the H3 snark that Ethan had uploaded Instagram stories about Mika's rhetoric that says,
And it's about
This kid's got a wild accent. I gotta know where he's from. Or they're from. Londonderry, United Kingdom. Okay. So, this is what I'm looking at. Who is this guy? Adam McIntyre. What pronouns does Adam McIntyre use? He, him. Irish. Oh, he's Irish. Okay. Now I understand why he's saying H3 YouTube. I'm not good at accents, so I won't try. But I did notice the H. Is he a musician too? The Chronically Online podcast. Adam McIntyre. Is Ethan, the way he did it, it sounded like, that's not the same guy. But he's saying that this is one of the most deranged psychopaths on the internet. I don't know. I'm not going to watch these, but I just want to, make a snap judgment. What sort of videos do you make? Ton among you calls out. Okay, so it sounds like it's like some drama stuff. Storytelling. Does he do stand-up? Cheating on boyfriend, sleeping with my boss, and ghosting. That he agrees with H3 Snark, which is the bad guys. Right? They're one of the suspects. Ethan already told you, H3 Snark is really, really bad because they're dedicated to harassing and ruining lives. And this guy is a psycho because he says they're good.
And I believe that they're being silenced. And I saw on the H3 Snark that Ethan had uploaded Instagram stories about Mika's rhetoric that says...
And it's about the H3 Snark subreddit.
I don't like this fucking editing, man. Why would you just cut off right before? What is this? What is this? Another... Oh, God damn it. Another dummy taking a ticket and getting in line. Let's talk about when we return. What are we looking at? Another dummy taking a ticket and getting in line. Let's talk about it when we return. Mika's rhetoric.
Instagram stories about Mika's rhetoric, Snark, that Ethan had uploaded Instagram stories about Mika's rhetoric that says...
And it's about the H3 Snark subreddit.
What are you trying to prove with that? I don't know what's going on.
That they're being silenced. And I saw on the H3 Snark that Ethan had uploaded Instagram stories about Mika's rhetoric.
Okay, he saw on that subreddit that Ethan had uploaded an Instagram story about Mika's rhetoric. That's another YouTube channel, I guess. I don't. Apparently, it looks like they're looking at a YouTube channel, like, homepage. I don't know who that is.
It says,
and it's about the H3.
And then we just cut away from it. Now we're at Hassan. Okay. Hassan is watching. What is Hassan watching? So Hassan is on the H3 Snark subreddit.
Snark subreddit. For more than a year now, Ethan has been talking about it and saying how toxic this place is, how they promote harassment, doxing, stalking, and why it should be banned.
I believe these Snark subreddits on Reddit should be banned.
I believe these Snark Reddits on Reddit should be banned. You shouldn't be able to say mean things about me on the internet. They should be banned. They should be banned. Ban them. I'm watching Ethan's video of Hassan's... No, it's not even Hassan. There's some other voiceover. I'm watching Ethan's video in which he's placed another random person's video who is playing a Hassan video, who's watching Ethan say exactly what he's trying to say in the video that I'm watching.
It's literally fostering the most psychopathic. It encourages.
It's fostering the most psychopathic. Foster. Okay?
Harassment, doxing, stalking.
It encourages harassment, doxing, and stalking. Now we've got some crimes. Ruin lives is not tangible enough. Okay, so what is it? encourages doxing, stalking, and harassment. Now we have seen, and by we I mean I and you and everyone has seen these kinds of things happen in real life. We have seen people who are rewarded by doxing, stalking, and harassment. For example, libs of TikTok, right? Like it perpetuates, like they're rewarded the more and more that they fuck with queer kids out in the world, the more and more they are loved and rewarded by their fucked up community, right? They encourage doxing, stalking, and harassment, right? Libs of TikTok. So that's what we're kind of gonna, I guess that's Ethan's claim, is that these subreddits are along the lines of a libs of TikTok, right?
It's just...
I guess it's fine as long as it's not the Destiny subreddit.
I think it's...
I'm guessing Ethan overlaid this. Loving it. Destiny obsession +1. Bro. Oh, it's like I'm watching the content nuke again. Ah! These are not landing, dude. These are not landing. Okay, you. By you, I mean Ethan Kline. You're not ever going to watch this, but Ethan, you are watching Hassan, who's watching you. Now, Hassan, in his own words, streams 10 hours a day. So a lot of times when you catch him on his stream, he's just staring at shit and eating. Right?
The most psychopathic. It encourages harassment, doxing, stalking. It's just...
He pauses it. He goes, He finishes chewing before he says what he's thinking. Loving what? Loving what? Loving it. What is he loving? Does he love that you're upset about it?
I guess it's fine.
Destiny obsession. Now, to be honest, since the content nuke was so shitty, it was the most awful fucking piece of dog shit I've ever seen in my life, and I wanted it. I wanted a Hassan nuke. I'm not like a Hassan stan. Literally, that content nuke had an opposite effect. I've watched more of Hassan since I ever have since that, right? You actually increased his popularity. You made him seem like less of a bad guy because all we have to compare him to is fucking Ethan Kline and Sex Pestiny. So I have watched a bit of Hassan, and I happen to know that Hassan is not a fucking fan of Destiny. And after that, because we watched Ryan Beard's Destiny nuke, Destiny is the most fucked up guy. I mean, he's a fucking piece of shit. I hate his guts. And the nuke helped me with that. I disliked him for being like a genocidal freak. And then I learned way more terrible shit that he did. So if him, like, he's making a joke at Destiny's expense, that's supposed to be obsession? What do we then call what you're doing, Ethan, to Hassan? Because it sounds like you bring his ass up over, like, you mentioned him a couple times already in this video, that he's legitimizing, right?
As long as it's not the Destiny subreddit.
I think it's time to hold all of them accountable. Here, for example, is Denims, a.k.a.
All right. So, first of all, who's this guy? Adam McIntyre is really, really bad because...
And I believe that they're being silenced. And I saw...
Because he believes that they're being silenced. Cut different clothes, different day. And...
on the H3 snark.
And I saw... Okay, like, fine. I do a little thing sometimes called a YouTube poop. You can take a video of someone and you can chop up little words and stick them around, and you can make people just say whatever you want, right? You could, if you're gonna do this kind of like bullshit, like cut from 2 different days, half of a sentence from Monday and the second half of the sentence from Friday, and just stick them all together, why don't you just make him say something that's really inflammatory and fucked up? Because this does... Why do I hate... Why? What on earth is meant to make me believe that this guy is a fucked up what did he call him? The most crazed psychopath on the internet. Let's see this crazed Is it because he changes clothes in an instant?
On the internet.
I bring this to YouTube because I respect the H3 snark, and I believe that they're being silenced. And I saw on the H3 snark that Ethan had uploaded Instagram stories about Mika's rhetoric that says...
And it's about the...
That says... What? Okay. So, yeah. I guess that guy's a psycho because he, like, never finishes a sentence. Hassan Piker, he's a psycho because you wrote Loving It, Obsessed with Destiny. Dude, what do you mean Destiny obsession, dude? What the fuck do you mean by that? He calls him Sex Pestiny, like that's his nickname for him. As far as I know, Ethan Kline is actually the one more aligned with fucking Destiny. He's a goddamn fucking Zionist piece of shit that advocates for the fucking genocide of the Palestinians. Like, that's one big reason that everybody hates Destiny, except for you, Ethan, because you're for the Palestinian cause, but not too much, right? You don't want it to be too much, which is fucking disgraceful. You're really just, obviously there's giant issues that undergird this whole beef, right? And I feel like there's maybe a little bit of motivated reasoning happening here, Ethan. A little bit of the old bitch eating crackers syndrome. Okay? Where you hate someone so much that you look at them just doing something normal like eating crackers, and you get like your fucking pants foamed up and go, oh my God, look at this fucking bitch eating crackers like a fucking asshole. They're just eating crackers, man. You are obsessed. I mean, it says it right there, man. Like, that's fucking projection. That is fucking projection if I've ever seen it. Oh my God, Hassan's so obsessed with Destiny. Well, then what are you, Ethan, to Hassan? Because this guy is just living... God, I don't think he even lives in your brain rent free. I think he actually pays rent, and you're trying to evict him by locking all the doors and locking all the windows and setting the apartment on fire.
Destiny subreddit.
I think it's time to hold all of them accountable. Here, for example, is Denims, a.k.a. Hassan Waiting Room, watching Bad Empanada talk about...
Hassan Waiting Room? Oh, boy.
about the state of our house and how we take care of our kids. Let's take a look.
He lets his dogs shit.
Streamed on Monday, 2 days before call to CPS. Okay. So Denims is the woman over here on the right. Bad Empanada is this guy on the left. Oh, he can't see it.
All over his mansion, and he just leaves the shit on the floor, something that is probably related to the fact that his former housekeeper is suing him for a number of different reasons. So I would assume he doesn't actually have a housekeeper anymore, or perhaps he lost his extra housekeeper. So now the house is just like covered in dog shit. And he has kids, and his kids like crawl into the dog shit, and God forbid, I don't know what they do with it. I don't know if they eat it, or if it's just from like contact with it with their hands or something, but they contracted a parasite that I had previously never heard of in my life. Called Giardia from the dog shit that is all over his house.
Dude, how is it that like maybe once a week I look into what Ethan Kline's been up to, and every time I manage to find more and more terrible shit. This is where Ethan tells a story about his family getting Giardia.
We already have mold Mondays. Now we have shit Saturdays.
Also, this is not a joking matter, by the way. It can be very severe and deadly to small children. I mean, much like many other illnesses, it's very, very, very dangerous when infants get the same sicknesses that adults get. There are lots of things that you can get as an adult. You're totally fine. You'll be A-okay. No problem. A child, a small infant that has no immune system, shouldn't be catching anything.
Now at this point, as he continues,
Look, I can understand being mad at Bad Empanada, who is making this claim. Denims is just watching it.
It's like covered in dog shit, and
She's just watching it.
They contracted
making eyes.
The dog shit that is all over his house.
Dude,
is this true?
How is it that like maybe once a week I look into what Ethan Kline's been up to, and every time I manage to find more and more terrible shit. This is where.
Okay. So she said once a week she checks in with Ethan Kline and always finds more and more terrible shit.
Ethan tells a story about his family getting Giardia.
We already have mold
Ethan tells a story of his family getting Giardia.
Mondays. Now we have shit Saturdays.
Also, this is not a joking matter, by the way. It can be very severe and deadly to small children.
It can be really hard to tell a lot of time when streamers talk, like if they're reading if they're saying a sentence from their own head or if they're reading something. But that sounded like she was reading something because she said it in a question, but I don't see where that is in her chat.
I mean, much like many other illnesses, it's very, very, very dangerous.
Now, a lot of these comments in the chat are saying child services alert. 2 of them said that, or another one said call CPS.
When infants get the same sicknesses that adults get. There are lots of
Someone take the kids, please. Your kid ate dog shit, bro. Your kid ate dog shit,
things
bro.
that you can get as an adult. You're totally fine.
Bruh, how is this not child neglect?
Fine. You'll be A-okay. No problem.
Filthy living millionaires in a shit-covered mansion.
A child, a small infant that has no immune system.
Call Child Protective Services.
Shouldn't be catching anything.
now at this
I mean, I'm still waiting to see where Denims said anything. That's, I don't know. All I've heard so far is expressing disbelief. Is this true? And then talking about how little babies and children should be protected and should be safe. Right? Now, I can definitely understand from the perspective of the parents, these are going to feel like personal attacks to you. But to an outsider, these look like people expressing concern for the safety of children. Right? Like, if I see a child that I believe is in danger, and I would say, oh no, somebody help that poor child, right? Well, it turns out the child wasn't in danger. They were filming a movie. It was a child and his dad, like, reading a script and rehearsing for a play, right? So if I then was like, I'm calling the police and I'm going to make sure that kid gets taken away from that man would definitely have cause to be upset with me, because I'm the busybody who got involved and now threatening his family, right? But if I told that story to someone else where I was like, oh, I saw this kid, it looked like he was getting screamed and abused, so I just called CPS. Turns out they were just rehearsing for a play, and the kid wasn't being abused, so that's good. I get it. I get why the father would be upset with me for falsely calling in a report. But that guy also has to understand that everyone else in the world, if they see it or hear about it, are going to say something like, oh my God, those kids shouldn't be in that house. If what you're saying is true, if it's full of giardia and shit, people are going to shout out and say, like, hey, protect those kids. To me, that doesn't sound like people threatening his kids. Except this one. This said, let his kids roll around in shit. All right. There's a couple freaks.
Now, at this point, as he continues, notice the chat is almost in complete universal agreement. Call CPS.
Okay. Yeah. Child endangerment, Mike?
Yes, call child endangerment. CPS, social services. Bro needs to unironically call CPS. That's child endangerment.
Okay, if his kids have giardia, they actually actual worst father ever. Holy shit. So Ethan isn't only sexualizing underage children. Oh, God. Decliner needs to take care of his kids. WTF. Giardia means leaving your dog shit on walking.
Okay, if his kids have giardia, they need to be taken away. Actual worst father ever.
His youngest baby contracted giardia now because their rescue dog got it. I can confirm a history of him. Dan has called him out many times. How is CPS not involved at this point?
Endangerment. Okay, if his kids have giardia, they need to be taken away. Actual worst father ever, etc., etc. I'll let the chat play for you, but you can see just how crazed this.
Advocates for fascist apartheid state doxes random children. I think that says random. Said this in Yugo chat, but I grew up in a not. Why wouldn't you show us the whole fucking? You absolute fucking tit. You're like, okay, look. This happened in the content nuke. He's like, the chat was full of anti-Semitic attacks against me. And he scrolls up this list where literally like one chat said, where does Ethan live? Two other chats said something like, what is going on? I think one person actually said Ethan's content sucks or something. Like he said, fuck your content. Like he's like, they just completely filled the chat with anti-Semitic slurs and attacks and harassment against me. Evidence not found. Literally like a whole page scrolling up of fucking nothing. Now, he's like, just look at these chats. And every single one is cut off.
Community is, and once again, this is Denham's chat.
Yeah, this is a chat room. Where
From the first.
is the evidence? I mean, I guess he's implying that one of these people who in the chat wrote, call CPS, that someone who was watching his stream went ahead and did that. Now, I don't know how they would do that necessarily, because like we heard, it can be confidential. I don't know if it's, because like if I just called CPS in the state, like I wouldn't have to know like what city they live in, what their address is, all this shit. Like I don't think you could just be like, this guy on the internet, Ethan Kline, yeah, I need you to check in. He said that there's I don't know, the dog shit thing is he's denying that there was ever dog shit on the floor, right? This is just a lie from Bad Empanada, right? That's what I'm led to believe, is that there was never dog shit in his house. And that's all a lie. Did his dog get Giardia? Did his kids get Giardia? These are the questions.
The call came on the 3rd.
No wonder his house is covered in dog shit, and his neglected children raised by nannies have contracted parasites previously unknown to science from the feces. I wonder why he skipped over all of this, because everything that I said in this story, which by the way was apparently compiled by his crew, playing...
No wonder this motherfucker is always sick. Yeah, it all makes sense now.
By the way, these people can't keep their talking points straight. On one hand,
talking points.
It's we don't raise our kids and our house is just run by nannies and housekeepers. But on the other hand, we also keep our house so dirty that there's dog shit everywhere. I mean, what?
Talking points? Hold on. Because remember what we're looking at. We're looking at a woman who's watching Bad Empanada's video. And Bad Empanada is saying all this stuff, right?
Raised by nannies have contracted parasites previously unknown to science from the feces. I wonder why he skipped over all of this, because everything that I said in this story, which by the way was apparently compiled by his crew, playing...
No wonder this motherfucker is always sick. Yeah, it all makes sense now.
By the
So she just said, no wonder why this motherfucker's always sick. It makes sense now. That's not a talking point.
Previously unknown shit, and his neglected children raised by nannies have contracted parasites previously unknown to science from the...
His kids have contracted parasites previously unknown to science.
Feces. I wonder why he skipped over all of this, because everything...
He skipped over all of this. Am I meant to be looking at the chat for these talking points? Because talking points are when there's like a unified communicative like party who's like, we need to push a message, right? And the talking points are little responses you can give to commonly asked questions that challenge your movement or your point of view or whatever. Ethan would love to imagine that anyone who's criticizing him has talking points. Now let's hear what were these two talking points again?
Previously unknown to science from the feces. I wonder why he skipped over all of this, because everything that I said in this story, which by the way was apparently compiled by his crew, playing...
No wonder this motherfucker is always sick. Yeah, it all makes sense now.
By the way, these people can't keep their talking points straight. On one hand, it's we don't raise...
These people can't keep their talking points straight. So, just that, and we're going to hear what the talking points are again, but just that phrase alone has real big I'm delusional energy. Like, if you have this epiphany of like, oh my God, this same like unified force of messaging is putting out mixed messages, or the agents require that are there that are meant to be communicating can't get it right. They can't get their talking points right. Okay, it's possible that you are being confronted with a wall of messaging that is also incompatible, or it's self-defeating. It has contradictions within its own system. And that should be reason to discard that wall of information. It's not trustworthy. But I think in this case, he's just reading a whole bunch of different people, all just saying whatever the fuck they want. They're just giving their opinions, their thoughts about it. And not all of those opinions fit into a neat little box, right? And you think, well, that's weird because they're all conspiring in a coordinated, organized attempt to ruin my life because they hate me. So when I find that some of their messages aren't aligned, well, you don't think, well, maybe it's not a coordinated attack? No, of course it is very much coordinated, but you see how it looks like it's not coordinated? Well, they just can't get their talking points right. It's a way of being like, oh, look at, you see this evidence that doesn't seem to fit my theory? Well, that's their fault. It's because they can't get their story right. It just reminds me of like when people are like, well, climate change, that's all a big hoax. They can't even get their story straight. They used to call it global warming. Now they call it climate change. What's next? Global cooling? Oh, wait, they already did that. Like, so you're conflating like a wall of message, right? The way, and I'll say it, conservatives, they see the world as there's our world and the rich diversity of ideas and flourishing that exists within it. And then there's them. They, the world, the public schools, the school counselors, major corporations that aren't explicitly Christian or religious, all universities. In their minds, it's all one hive mind. It's all one coordinated attack against us good Christian folk, right? So the way they look at it, and then so when they get conflicting outside messages, because the fact is that lots and lots of people live outside of that bubble who aren't like coordinating with each other to all try to destroy that bubble, right? A lot of times it's just a fucking guy who's like, I'm not a fucking Christian or conservative, fuck off. And that person doesn't necessarily coordinate with newspaper editors and school guidance counselors for a coherent attack message, right? But there are people who just see it like that. They're all on the same side, which is against us, right? This is the mindset that Ethan is showing right now when he's like, oh my God, look at all this horrible shit. Plus, check this out. They don't have their talking points straight. So, on one hand, you got to build up how scary and bad they are. But then on the other hand, you got to like smush them down a bit, Be like, these guys are wacky. They don't even have their story straight. I don't know who he's talking about. He hasn't shown anybody giving talking points that are contradictory.
Raise our kids, and our house is just run by nannies.
Hold on.
Going straight. On one hand, it's we don't raise our kids.
We don't raise our kids.
And our house is just run by nannies and housekeepers.
Nannies and housekeepers.
But on the other,
that would be nice to. If this is a talking point, then we should have example after example after example of people using it. And then sometimes you can even find like the way it's like very specifically worded, you know? Like you could recognize a talking point because you'll just hear people say this phrase. That's like, what? That's familiar. I heard someone talking about that on Fox News. They use that exact word. Like I remember when a relative of mine was like, well, this is back in like 2007 or 2008 or something. It's like, well, I just don't know if I want a president who pals around with terrorists. Pals around? Because that was a Republican talking point. They tried to connect Obama to Reverend Wright. They said that Obama used to pal around with him, and that he's a terrorist. Pal around. What does that mean to pal around? Well, literally, like if you just hang out with someone one time, you could be accused of palling around, or he's your pal. And when you hear someone who's never ever used the phrase pal around come up and be like, well, I wouldn't ever want to vote for someone who pals around with terrorists. Like, what the fuck do you mean pal around? That's a talking point. It doesn't even make any sense. And it's the very specific wording, too, that comes out. All right. So this is a so-called talking point. And it's 3 parts.
Yeah, it all makes sense.
we don't raise our kids, and our house is just run by nannies.
Doesn't raise kids, house run by nannies and house cleaners. That's a talking point against Ethan. That's talking point 1. What's the next talking point?
Nannies and housekeepers. But on the other hand, we also keep our house so dirty that there's dog shit everywhere.
They keep their house so dirty that there's dog shit everywhere. First of all, I don't know how this is necessarily a contradiction. Because let's just take for the sake of argument. We're not talking about the Klines, but let's say we said there's this shitty family. They don't pay attention to their kids. They don't clean. They don't cook. They don't do any laundry. They just have housekeepers and nannies do all that for them. And their house is full of shit. And there's dog shit on the ground. Now that might make sense if, for example, you had a house cleaner, but then you fired the house cleaner or something for some reason. And then you went for a week or so without a house cleaner. I don't think that family would then start cleaning their house a lot. It sounds like by habit, they don't have the habit of doing their own house cleaning, their own housework. So I would imagine if you didn't have a house cleaner come around for a while, that family would be living in filth and squalor because they don't ever do it, right? We're creatures of habit, right? You don't just clean shit if you know that someone's going to come clean it for you in a bit, you're not going to bother. And then you just have a habit. And it's like, we really need to get a house cleaner. But it's, with dirtiness, it's never it's always just a little bit more. And it seems like, well, it's not urgent. We don't have to do it now, but we should get around to it at some point. and it could go off. Yeah. So, again, are these talking points? I've never heard anyone say Ethan doesn't raise his children because he has a nanny and a housekeeper. Obviously, you spend a little less time with your kids than normal parents because the nanny's doing it. Even though you know, I mean, honestly, you work from home. And I mean, I think his wife also does the same thing. Like they do their podcast or whatever. Do they do it from their house? I don't know. I don't know if they actually do this stuff in their house, but okay, whatever. If this story is true, that the talking points are this and that, those aren't necessarily contradictory. If you live in luxury and you have someone doing all your housework for you,
I mean,
and then you fire that person, then I can totally imagine your house is going to look like shit because you're not the type. You're not the type to go and clean it. They probably don't even know like what needs to be cleaned. And if the dog is shitting in some part of the house that they don't like bother cleaning, it only takes a few hours for that to happen. It's not like weeks and weeks necessarily would require. The whole, it's so stupid. If someone was like, you have a messy house, and I'm like, and I like run and clean it, and you could come over and see, look, it's clean. Look how clean it is. Can't believe you ever said it was messy. Like, you could go into a clean house, and it's still logically possible that days or hours before, it wasn't clean. Like, it's a living process. So, you can't claim that your house is always dirty because it was dirty once. Likewise, you can't claim your house is always clean because it was clean once. Houses are always getting a little bit more dirty than they were before, and then you clean it. It goes back up. How long was it in between those cleanings? Who knows? I mean, I don't know. Once a week is a pretty normal schedule for a house cleaner. So house cleaner comes on Monday, and like on Friday, dog craps on the floor while no one's looking and the baby is crawling around. Baby doesn't necessarily have to eat the shit. I don't know if a baby would like smell shit and have the instinct to eat it. Although they might touch it, forget about it, you know, and then touch something else and do other shit and then put their hand in their mouth, forgetting that the weird smelly brown stuff was on it, right? It could happen. And that's not necessarily like a reason to call CPS, right? Although, CPS doesn't necessarily just take children from their family. Like, they might have other, like, rules or instructions or guidelines or, you know, benchmarks, milestones that we have to reach in order to improve a couple things here and there, right? If they were doing anything criminal, that gets escalated to the police and shit, right? So it's so funny that when he was getting like literal bombs in the mail, literal explosive bombs in packages sent to his house, according to Ethan, that was way less than a visit from CPS. Do I dare even say it? It sounds very, very defensive. It almost sounds. In a situation like this, it might sound to some people that if a person is so so scared that the authorities would talk to their children, that they would see the inside of their house, that they would ask these questions, that his first thought is, they're going to take my kids away. Maybe that person would think they're guilty of something. It doesn't have the bravado of the, hey, bring it on, we got nothing to hide. Which, again, I don't think that's a good excuse for, like, invasions of privacy, as they call it. Oh boy, this is going to turn into another nuke. I'm only 9 minutes into this. But we're going to pause it for here. I don't want to do like a full 4-hour thing. We're going to need some time. We're going to maybe I might check some facts, check some docs, and we're going to get back to this because this is not good, and not in the way that it's like, oh, it's so dangerous. I'm saying Ethan is not making a convincing argument for anyone other than his own diehard fans. You'd have to be a diehard fan because so much of this stuff has to just be accepted at face value, right? And if you're a diehard fan, you're going to be like, oh yeah, they're doing it. Hassan et al. Calling, yep, fucking agree. That's what they're saying. They're like, instant agree, no questions asked, right? But I'm not a fucking Ethan simp. I don't just gobble every little thing he says and take it as truth. I want some fucking evidence. Okay? This claim here, they are starting to try to call in a 5150. That's even more worthy of evidence. But if you're a diehard Ethan simp to the end of the earth, you're like, yeah, oh my God, my boy, they're trying to commit my boy. This kind of insanity. If you're an Ethan freak, you're already like with him on that. You're like, this insanity. Because he's apparently chirping about nothing else but this on his podcast. They're childless. Sure, they'll just take that. CPS investigation is violating and it's insulting. It's unbelievable. It was potentially embarrassing. Their kids weren't, but could have been completely traumatized and embarrassed at having to talk to a man they don't know while at school and answer questions about their own welfare at home. So, sure, if you're an Ethan simp, you're going to hear that and be like, yep, don't need any evidence. Not me. I need some motherfucking evidence. I need some evidence that any of these subreddits encourage doxing, stalking, or harassment. That they're dedicated to harass and ruin lives. Because from what I can tell, these are the only place on Reddit where you can talk about H3 without getting banned if Ethan and Gila don't like what you wrote. That's not the same as harassment and ruining lives. I don't know. Fuck this. This is so stupid. Why? I don't know why I'm fucking doing this. All right, we're going to call it a night for here. I hope you didn't watch this. If you did, I'm sorry. That's all.